Namaste, yogi, astrologers, cosmic Mother Earth beings, all of you out there watching Karma Yoga Center's Alchemical Astrology Report. This is for the new moon coming up on, what is it coming up on? Saturday, May 4th, and this is the new moon in Taurus. Now, there's basically two main things that I want to cover this report, and that is the new moon and the energy of Beltane, which is happening officially, the date is May 1st, May Day. Solar Beltane is on May 5th, and then lunar Beltane is on May 18th. I'll talk about all of that, plus the meaning and the seasonal astrology of Beltane. And then I want to talk a little bit about all of the outer planets that have gone retrograde in this previous month of April, and they'll be maintaining their retrograde all the way through the end of August, September, and into October. So this retrograde season is going to, greatly flavor the summertime. But let me go back now to Beltane and the new moon. So May 1st is basically the midpoint between the spring equinox, which happened back on March 20th, and the summer solstice, which is coming up about June 20th or 21st this year. And in so many of the ancient Mother Earth traditions, they both honored the four seasons, the sacred cross, the cardinal cross. Each point of the cross marks the beginning of winter, summer, spring, and fall. But they also honor the half seasons, and that's the cross in motion. And the words that we use for the half seasons, I was trying to do some research on this, are most familiar from the Gaelic, Celtic, Druidic traditions, and I'll name those in a moment. I was trying to find a few other traditional names, perhaps from the Mayan or some of the Native American cultures, but I wasn't able to find their phrases for it, but I do know they honor these midway points. And interestingly enough, we are mostly familiar with at least three of these midway points because of what has translated from these ancient traditions into our sort of much watered down current day holidays. No offense to our current day holidays, because they are maintaining that structure of what is the deeper roots of why they are there and why they happen at certain times of year. So Beltane, being the midpoint, halfway between the spring and the summer, is the complementary point to the halfway point, a lot of halfway points here, between fall and winter. And we know, all of us know this one very, very well. The Celtic Gaelic name for it is Sahim, but we know it as Halloween, All Hallows Eve, also known as Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. And 180 degrees away from that, or almost 180 some days later, comes Beltane. So it's the complementary point to the All Hallows Eve. And the energy, we're most familiar with that All Hallows Eve, is the death cycle. And in astrology, anytime we're talking about these seemingly cosmic principles or things that are relating to our sun or the moon or the stars, one of the best ways to understand what that energy means is look to Mother Nature. What is Mother Earth doing at that time? Particularly if we're talking about the cycle of the moon and the sun. And when the sun is at Halloween, it's in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio and Sahim, and that half point between fall and winter, is all about death. It's about things falling off the trees. It's about the exhale. It's about letting go and the cycle of things going deep and down and inward and into the roots and into the darkness, and letting go of the previous cycle of what has come. The complementary side of that, and the other side, is there's going to be an inhale. You can consider Beltane the complementary inhale to the exhale of Sahim. And so the inhale is the return, the rebirth, the renewal. If you look to nature now, particularly if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's the time when the earth is wet and fertile. It's when the flowers are blooming and the baby rabbits have been born and they're beginning to appear and the birdies are coming out of their nest and the little buds are on the trees and the beautiful fragrance of the flowers are being birthed and put out there. And so Mother Nature, what she has taken and returned to the earth to rejuvenate, to restore, to resurrect, has come back around again and returned to us in life. This is the magic and mystery of life, the mystery schools of all these ancient Mother Earth traditions, particularly these words Beltane and Sahim come from the Celtic, that many of the, not many, I should say, as far as I know, all of the indigenous cultures around the world are familiar with this. All of the indigenous cultures around the world, if you tap back to their pure roots, they will know the cycles, the seasons, the times when the moon is indicating certain times for planting, when it's indicating times for quietness, when it's indicating times for meditation. Same with the sun as it goes through the cycle of seasons. It's presenting opportunities and direction and teachings and wisdom for us to do this. Much of this wisdom has been lost in the last 6,000 years of the patriarchy. It has put forth a male-dominant, linear, going forward, always accumulating, taking in. It's a constant inhale, give it all to me, and there's no sharing exhale. And it's created a great amount of imbalance. And so this is an opportunity at this Beltane season, and I'll explain what Beltane means in a moment, to return to understanding the cycles of nature, the cycles of being a human being, that all of us, all human beings here on Mother Earth, were born by her. Even the ones that are not in alignment with the cycles of peace and harmony, they were still given permission and birth and love by the Great Mother and are here to serve a purpose if they awake to it. And so all of us have that root. All of us are indigenous people. All of us, if we're able to follow our heritages back far enough, will come into a point where our peoples, and we are now rejoining as the rainbow peoples, but from our point of origin where we were unified to the land with our particular DNA, that we will find that those tribal cultures knew things about harmony and the sacred feminine and the cycles of the season and the ways to live in balance with the earth without creating disease and poison and harm and disharmony with the animals and with the planet and with the water. Why am I speaking about all this when it's an astrology report? Well, Beltane is an astrological event. It's the halfway point between when our sun, the star, is between equinox and solstice. The other 2 points on that cross in motion, so we have Beltane and Sahim, and then up here is Imbolc, that's Groundhog's Day, traditionally, or Candlemas, that's what the Catholic Church has placed on top of that energy, and that is the halfway point between winter and spring. And then down here, it's Lughnasadh, or Lughnasadh, and that is August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, around there, and that's the halfway point between summer and fall. I won't reference what those 2 points mean, but back to Beltane. Beltane is the celebration, the honoring of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, but it leads with the sacred feminine because the sacred feminine at this time of year is birthing all of these fruits and flowers and animals, and the water is returning after it melts from the mountains and runs down, and the rivers are replenished. And it's a fertility. It's an honoring of the sacred principle of creation. And this is known in all cultures, that it is a great thing for us to honor the creative force that has made our bones, our bodies, our homes, our cell phones in modern times. It makes our food. And to honor this principle is to be in that cycle of giving and receiving. The word Beltane itself is honoring a goddess, and the word Bel is the goddess, and Bel refers to the fiery light. And Tane is to honor that, or it's the good light of fire. And so Beltane is honoring the both external light of the sun, the light that returns in the spring, the light that nourishes us and rejuvenates us, the light when we come out of the underworld like Persephone, but it is also honoring the inward feminine light, the light of the heart. It is the opening up of compassion, of trust, of patience, of tolerance, of compromise. That's the inner feminine light that Beltane is bringing back. It's also honoring the sacred union of the masculine and feminine. At this time, the goddess Beltane comes to meet the Green Man. Green Man is the sacred masculine, or one of the versions of the sacred masculine. And going down a slight rabbit hole there, the name Robin Hood is referring to an ancient name for the Green Man. Rob is a name for the sacred masculine, and the hood is the one that both men and women wore who were in alignment with the sacred teachings of Mother Earth. The Druids were ones that wore that sacred hood, and the word Druid, Dru means oak, and id has to do with the witness. The Druids were the one who witnessed the trees, witnessed what the oaks had to see, were in alignment with the sacred feminine. And so Robin Hood is also the masculine version that is coming to greet the feminine. And so Robin Hood, or the Green Man, comes to meet Beltane on this holiday, and it's celebration of life, of the physicality. Right now, this new moon, which is on Saturday, May 4th at 4:45 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, both the sun and the moon are traveling together in the sky, and they're in the sign of Taurus. Taurus has everything to do with Beltane. Taurus is ruled by the goddess planet Venus, or Aphrodite, or any of those sacred Lakshmi feminine principles that have to do with the sensuality, the abundance of life, the creation, the enjoyment. And these ancient Mother Earth traditions, the Druids, the Celtic tradition, the Native American traditions, they don't see that the physical is profane. They don't see that the physical is separate from spirit. And they don't see that being physical is innately a sin because we have five senses. We can, of course, abuse the five senses and become stuck at the surface level, and that creates problems. Like if you are on an ocean and you're just at the surface and a storm wells up, you will be capsized or turned over or misaligned. But if you go deep into the ocean, a storm does not affect the depths of the ocean, does not create turbulence down at that level. And the same goes for our senses. If we go deep into our senses and allow that Taurian principle, that Taurus principle of enjoyment of ourselves and letting ourselves celebrate life and celebrate the fact that we are spirit beings having this physical experience, not physical beings having an occasional spiritual experience, as has been the paradigm for the patriarchy to get us pulled out of our spiritual path. So Beltane celebrates that spirit is everywhere. Spirit's in the flowers, spirit's in making love, spirit is in the unification between the sacred masculine and feminine. And at Beltane, couples that are in partnership would go out into the forest, the fields, and make love, and to honor Mother Earth that way, to let that sacred principle of creation and life be presented back to Mother Earth in celebration. You may know this holiday as May Day, and there's the maypole, which represents Father Sky, the sacred vertical principle, and then around that they imbue it with a garland of flowers. Many times it was the hawthorn flower, the hawthorn of the sacred feminine tree, and that sacred hoop is placed around the vertical masculine principle, and that's the horizontal or the circular, representing the unification of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. And then all of the peoples are invited to walk around it with the ribbons of life, the diversity of our planet, and circle it with the force of Kundalini, the spiraling snake principle that says we all have the possibility to wake up, to be in charge of our own spiritual path, and this is done through understanding the principles of Mother Earth, the sacred feminine, and these energies at this time. Another thing that happens during Beltane is that fire, that return of the fire. And this is when, in places where they honored this, they would extinguish all fires but one. They would gather around the fire. There would be dance and celebration. There might even be jumping over the fire, both symbolically to purify the body over the flames, but also just to celebrate the gift that Mother Nature has given us these bodies, that we may come here with a special purpose, through her permission, to do things to honor love, to evolve and grow, to create, to make a world where we imagine principles of harmony, unity, of gathering together with our children, with the elders, with the people in our tribes, and sharing in this rainbow vision. And so there's much celebration at this time of Beltane. I mentioned that it's officially celebrated on May 1st. Solar Beltane is on May 5th, Sunday, and that's when the sun is at 15 degrees of Taurus. It's exactly halfway between the point of spring and summer. And then lunar Beltane, it varies every year, just as the day of solar Beltane. It's when the full moon happens at this time, the full moon after May 1st. And so this year, the full moon after May 1st is May 18th. And so it's really about a little over a 2-week cycle of when the Beltane energy is abundant and around. So it's not just one day where you can celebrate this. If you feel called to it in the next 2 weeks to celebrate the principle of life, of sacred union, of the masculine and feminine coming together equal and not one above and the other, this is a beautiful celebration to help us heal. Right now, and the rest of our astrology, we have the moon's nodes, which have to do with karma and the evolution of us both individually and as a species or as a humanity or as a planet. And the nodes are in Capricorn and Cancer. Capricorn represents the patriarchy, Cancer represents the matriarchy. The South Node is in Capricorn. The South Node represents what needs to be purified and healed. The North Node is in Cancer, and it's what we need to call in and cultivate and bring into our future. We need to heal the patriarchy, that old system of taking more than you need for greed, of fear, of control, of taking away people's spirituality, taking away people's dignity, taking away people's life force and replacing it with anger and frustration and blockage and suppression. And the Mother Earth principle, that principle in Cancer, says we can help heal this. It's not one or the other. It's not the masculine or the feminine. But let's heal the masculine and let's bring back the feminine. The feminine is patient. The feminine is compassionate. How patient and compassionate is Mother Earth with all of her children over the past thousands of years and all that they have been doing in misalignment with her resources, with her body, with her bones, to each other, to the animals, to the water system. And yet she still gives us the gift of food, still gives us the gift of shelter, still gives us the gift of flowers every spring. But we need to come together as men, women, children, elders now and respect this principle of nature, of Mother Earth, and heal the sacred masculine and bring them back together in balance like the Beltane principle. Whew! That was a big one for this new moon. The new moon also represents the seed of a new cycle. So this is a time, this is an opportunity, this is a tilling of the earth, this is a tilling of your inner world to go deep in and plant something new. Go into the inner world and plant a new seed of hope, plant a new imagination, a new dream of what this new world will look like, of what this new unification will look like. We need to honor the old traditions, the ancient traditions that are coming back, but also spirit is alive and it's evolving, and we need to let it flow through us in our own Shakti and express that in our new creative way. Bring back the ancient and honor the new. It's like the same as bringing the masculine and feminine together. They don't have to be opposed. One doesn't have to dominate and become rigid or become too fluid and too out there with no structure. Same with the ancient traditions meeting what we need today. It's a unification. The technology can merge together in harmony with heart open with the ancient wisdom traditions of how to live in balance with Mother Earth. I'll only make a brief mention of this because it's going to be happening all summer season. We have Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and Pluto retrograde. Anytime planets are retrograde, it means their energy is more in our face, more prevalent, more in our lives. A little dramatic effect with the camera. I did the same thing when Mercury was retrograde. When the outer planets are retrograde, though, they go for longer periods of time. And so Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto will basically be retrograding all the way through August, September, and October. So basically the whole summer season will be feeling these more prevalent energies of Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. Saturn has to do with, are we healing the patriarchy? How are you coming into authorship of your life? Are you taking responsibility for the actions that you have put out there in the past? And are you stepping into what your soul's purpose is? Jupiter has to do with faith and the hero and heroine's journey, and taking a new journey and saying, I am ready now to come back as a warrior or a healer or a shaman or an astrology or a dancer or a creator of art for the honoring of Mother Earth. We need this, and you need to have faith in the inner world to take that new step and go out. And you need to have faith that when things start to get chaotic in this intermediate period, when the old patriarchy crumbles and the new principles start to come in, to not lose it, to not lose your inner grounding, to not lose that connection to the heart and stay open and to stay soft and to surrender. And Pluto retrograde is having you take a deep look at why you actually came here. What is your soul's purpose? And how are you fulfilling it? It also wants to know where old boundary structures in the mind, in the body, in the financial systems, in the government, in individuals, in societies, and religions have now outserved their purpose and need to go through the death cycle. It can be challenging. It can also be exhilarating. It's probably both at once. New opportunities may blossom during this retrograde and old ones may disappear. We may find that things in the world may get a bit of a shakeup or a lot of bit of a shakeup. And those of you that have this knowledge, that have this trust, and that have this connection to the intuitive heart, I ask you to please share it with others, to keep that balance, to stand out there as one of these sacred warriors from Mother Earth, to stand up as a yogi, to say what you stand for. I stand up for Mother Earth, and to be compassionate and patient and healing in the body and celebrate life. All right, yogis, thank you for tuning in to the astrological report. Happy Beltane. Celebrate it all the way through the 18th or celebrate it all year round. The Sacred Feminine will be coming back to you with the full moon report. Namaste.